Happy Monday, everyone. This is Martha with Nature Niche. The month of February is National Bird Feeding Month. And while a lot of places like to focus on what we can do with our bird feeders and good quality wild bird seed, I'd like to take the month of February to focus on um, how we can help their natural wild diet by really promoting, conserving, and planting more good native plant species in our landscapes. So I'm sharing two things that I'm very passionate about. Wild bird feeding, I think it's good for the soul to be able to watch and be part of the lives of our wild birds, and native plants. I love teaching people about native plants, and I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate National Bird Feeding Month. I think it's important that everyone understands that when we put bird feeders out or offering high quality bird seed, that we're doing that um, and that it's supplemental to these birds' wild natural diets. And so, especially in the winter months, doing so can really help increase their chances of survival. The best big picture overall thing we can do to help wild birds is help preserve and improve the quality of their habitats across the landscape and make sure that the native plants that provide them seeds and fruits and support native insects that they feed on, that those are in place and there to support the majority of their wild diet. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I think to do this well, you have to have a solid understanding of what plants are native near you in your particular region. So I'm going to walk you through some resources focusing on that, just figuring out what plants are native in your area. And then in future weeks, kind of talk about different groups of native plants that support particular groups of our wild birds. And in that way, celebrate the month of February and our wild birds and feeding them. And I think this time of year is just perfect to measure out, contemplate where you can get more native plants in your own landscape, either at home or other places that you help steward. And it's just a great time to plan, figure out where your closest native plant sale is, figure out your species and your quantities, and make a game plan ahead of the growing season. Oreo and I like to wander around this time of year, see where we have good native seed resources for the birds, and pay attention to what are the things that the birds are focusing on to help inform our growing season native planting designs. Plant nativity is something that can be considered across multiple scales. And so I like to start with the very least, making sure that what I'm putting into the landscape to support native wildlife is native to North America or the United States. So a good place to start and be able to see that level of detail is the U.S. Department of Agriculture's plants database. So if you've been considering maybe adding a certain tree or flowering shrub, or maybe there's some perennials you were thinking about adding, you could type those in, either common name or scientific name, and check those out through this USDA plants database. As a specific example, I just used tulip tree. I typed in the scientific name, Liriodendron tulipifera. I do recommend using scientific names if you can get a hold of them for the things you're considering. It's just more accurate. Some plants have the same common name and confusion can happen. So better to use the Latin name, the scientific name of the plant material you're considering. So I typed that in, and you can see over here Under native status, they have native to Canada and native to the lower 48 states. Then you can scroll down and take a closer look at the map, and any place that there's the green shading, you know that that particular species is native to your state. And if you see the blue coloring, that means it's present but was introduced. You can then scroll closer or zoom in using these buttons here and get down to county level data for your state. I think that's helpful. I would recommend going to some sort of state level database to get even better information. But here you can see that tulip tree in Michigan is mostly lower half of the lower peninsula species. So it will help you get a sense of where something has evolved to grow and might be well adapted to the soils and the climate for your particular area. For the state of Michigan, that state-based resource is Michigan Flora Online, compiled by the University of Michigan Herbarium. And they have a browse function where you can search either by family or by genus, or you can click on this search tab and again search by common name or scientific name. I will warn you, searching by common name, it is very particular. So if you're missing a dash or writing something as 2 words and they have it in here as 1, it can be pretty picky. So again, searching by scientific name is your best bet. So I know that goldenrods provide nice seed source for birds. So if I type that in here, and I can also filter here by clicking N for native. And then you can see here a list of species that are classified as native. You can see that over here. All the NTs are native, perennial forb, so lots of perennial goldenrods to choose from in the state. And then you can click on one, say blue stem goldenrod, and you're able to scroll and see a map of where that species has been recorded or reported to U of M Herbarium. Certainly the species can grow in other counties, but it gives you a good sense of where in the state the species is known to occur, and you can actually click on the blue dots and get more information about each of the records. Another neat search function and filter that you can do in this Michigan Flora is search by county. So if I have goldenrods up here, I'm still interested in those. I want to know the native ones, and I can select, for example, Midland County. Hit search and get a listing of goldenrod species, or at least species of plants that have goldenrod as a common name, that are native to our county. So take it with a grain of salt. Counties like Midland are a little undersurveyed, underreported, and so there may be other native species out there, but it gives you a good place to start to understand, okay, what are my locally native, if you really want to focus down at that county level. A lot of folks planting habitat for wildlife will take a broader view at more of that state level. But if you want to drill down to the county level, you can use this search function to narrow your choices. You can also, if I get rid of the search for goldenrod here, and I just have native plants checked for Midland County and hit search, I can get a whole list, and you can download the results, I think export them into Excel, and have a whole list of plants native to, for example, Midland County, Michigan. That can be a little overwhelming, going with a whole all-inclusive native plant list, but it's another approach you can take to pick out some good native plants for our wild birds. For the folks who are watching who don't live in Michigan, or perhaps some of my Michigan customers who are looking to help out-of-state friends with some native garden planning, don't worry, I have this other great resource for you to use to find that particular state's database of plants, and I can show you how to drill down to the native plants. So it is the Universal Floristic Quality Assessment Calculator. You do have to have an account with them. It's free. You can just click here to log in with an email and create a password for yourself. Once you have your account set up, go to the FQA databases part of this website and search for what seems most applicable to you. There are different databases set up for regions like the glaciated part of the Allegheny Plateau, different EPA ecoregions, the Chicago region, and also state databases. Like here's one for Colorado, or all of the Dakotas, or the state of Delaware. So you can scroll through here, and once you pick the one that seems applicable to where you're going to be pulling a native species for your own landscape, you can download it again as an Excel spreadsheet and do different searches on that to help you narrow down what types of plants are native to your area, what species you might want to look into getting for your particular landscape. Another approach is to lean heavily on the native plant professionals in your area. So another example from Michigan, there is a group known as the Native Plant Guild, and they have a great website to help connect folks to native plant professionals in the state with different member organizations. And so you can, especially the growers often have great resources and information about native plants and their site preferences. So just to show you an example of that, for our native plant sales, we work with wild type native plants in Mason, Michigan. And if I navigate to their website through this Native Plant Guild, I can get to a horticultural guide. That will show all the native plants that they carry with great information about what color are the flowers, when do they bloom, what sort of sun and shade and moisture, soil moisture requirements, and how tall they get. So your native plant nurseries in your area, I have full confidence that if you just search native plant nursery and your particular state, you can come up with a listing of professionals who can help you find wonderful native plants to install to help benefit our wild birds. And I will end my summary of native plant locating resources to help feed our wild birds with the Audubon website for their native plants database. You can enter in an email and your zip code and search for different types of plants. They have lists provided, and it'll tell you what sorts of things they provide for birds and what types of birds you can attract. Having these native plants in your landscape, you can filter. Say if you're looking for a shrub or some perennials or a good evergreen tree to plant, you can filter on that. You can also filter on what type of plant resource you're trying to provide for the birds, whether it's nectar for hummingbirds, seeds for the small birds, lots of caterpillars to help with rearing during the nesting season. And you can also filter by type of bird to get a shorter list of native plants that really focus in on that particular set of birds. So, all fun resources for you to explore and start thinking about how you can provide more native plants to support our wild birds. Take care and have a good week.